Remembering RBG. We take you to D.C., where thousands gathered this weekend to mourn the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Plus, the top takeaways from the Vice President's visit to the Valley.
And why wearing a mask in Maricopa County could soon be a thing of the past.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Dylan McKim.
And I'm Mackenzie Allen Charmley. Thank you for joining us. The death Friday of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg has already sparked a political fight over who should name her replacement. But first, it sparked an outpouring of emotion by Ginsburg's admirers. Cronkite News was outside the court this weekend, and reporter Tina Gugliano has a story from our Washington bureau.
It's quiet today. Many of the flowers and candles that once covered the steps of the Supreme Court have since been removed. But it was a vastly different scene this weekend when thousands flocked to the Supreme Court steps honoring the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Flowers, candles, crowd. Within hours of the announcement that the 87-year-old Ginsburg had died of complications from metastatic pancreatic cancer, the Supreme Court steps were filled with chants and songs. Ginsburg was already a trailblazing attorney fighting for women's rights, civil rights, and gender equality when she became the second woman on the High Court in 1993.
Every marginalized group in America had an ally and a friend and an advocate in Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
On the court, she became mainstay of the liberal wing and an icon to many.
Ruth Ginsburg was an icon. She was a trailblazer. But you know what I love best about Ruthie? She was a fighter.
The emotion outside the court was clear, but Becker, like many, had mixed emotions.
I felt grief personally, fear, because this is a very, very frightening time for our country.
The emotion over Ginsburg soon turned to calls to fight over her replacement. Speakers on the courthouse steps Saturday blasted plans by the White House and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to fill the seat immediately.
Mitch McConnell and his henchmen believe that they can ram through a Supreme Court justice only 45 days from the election.
That call resonated with Becker, who said the fight begins in the voting booth, where people can push back against the Trump administration.
And we would be letting her down. She would expect, if we didn't continue that fight and didn't pick up the torch she handed to us, she'd expect nothing less.
Warren urged the crowd on.
But tonight is the moment to say from the heart, with conviction, to ourselves and to anyone who's listening, when it comes to the fight to protect a woman's right to choose, I will fight.
Looking at the crowd between the Capitol and the court on Saturday, Sean Church said Ginsburg's legacy is already assured.
There's not many politicians in the building behind you or the building in here that will have a legacy like this.
The flag will continue to fly at half-mast for the next 30 days. And Justice Ginsburg's seat on the Supreme Court bench has been draped in black. She will lie in repose on Wednesday and Thursday. In Washington, Tina Giuliano, Cronkite News.
President Trump says he expects to announce his pick for the new Supreme Court justice on Friday or Saturday, just days before the first presidential debate. Trump told Fox and Friends he has a list of 4 finalists, and he's pushing for a confirmation vote before Election Day. Democrats are strongly opposing that, pointing to the hypocrisy of Republicans for rushing through a pick so close to the election after refusing to do so for President Barack Obama back in 2016.
Back here in Arizona, Mark Kelly has maintained a consistent polling lead over Republican Senator Martha McSally. McSally was appointed to the seat in 2019 after John McCain died. Because the contest is a special election to finish McCain's term, the winner could be sworn in as soon as the results are officially certified. That means if Kelly wins, he could take office as early as November 30th. If that happens, he could shrink the GOP Senate majority at a crucial moment and complicate the path to confirmation for President Donald Trump's Supreme Court nominee.
With just 6 weeks to go until Election Day, President Trump is trailing former Vice President Joe Biden here in Arizona. According to a poll by the New York Times, Biden leads Trump by 9 points among likely voters in our state. The poll also shows likely voters trust Biden more than Trump when it comes to the handling of the coronavirus pandemic.
Meanwhile, Vice President Mike Pence made 2 appearances in Arizona, working to solidify President Donald Trump's support among Hispanics and veterans. But not all veterans are lining up to support the re-election efforts. Cronkite News reporter Stephanie Rosales was at the Pence event and has reaction.
Hello, Arizona!
The Trump campaign believes Arizona is crucial to its campaign and its commitment to veterans.
President Trump has improved the VA, also made unprecedented investments in our military, and has actually taken steps to bring our troops home so we get out of endless wars.
But during a press call arranged by the Arizona Democratic Party, veterans shared how they felt about President Trump's recent comments towards veterans, including former Maricopa County attorney and veteran Rick Romley.
And for the president to sit here and say that he's a loser for serving this nation as so many hundreds of thousands have done in years past, that is not a commander-in-chief.
At a Veterans for Trump event held in Litchfield Park on Friday, the vice president told the crowd why he feels the president deserves 4 more years.
So we've rebuilt our military, ended the scandals at the VA, stood for life, liberty, law, and order. And in those first 3 years, it's also been about 3 more things. It's been about jobs, jobs, jobs.
With the upcoming election and several polls showing Biden in the lead in Arizona, there's still in big question who the military will support.
And if you look at the Military Times, it's a magazine that goes out to those that are in the military as well as veteran communities get it, and we watch it. There's a recent poll. It's unbelievable. Usually they're pretty strongly Republican. They have switched over to where Biden is in the lead over Trump now with the active military. That is huge. So I know there's been a shift, and I think it has been growing as the years go by because, we don't forget these things.
I think it may even be understated. Some people may not have responded, how they were going to vote, but knowing that, this is it's not tolerable for them to have somebody sit in the role of commander-in-chief and be so disrespectful to the military service members and veterans.
During the rally, the vice president also spoke on the Trump administration's strong support for law enforcement.
Under President Donald Trump, we will always stand with those who serve on the thin blue line. We're not going to defund the police, not now, not ever.
Arizona is home to more than 600,000 veterans. This makes up 1 in 10 Arizonans that have served in the military. In Litchfield Park, Stephanie Rosales, Cronkite.
4 more years.
Pence also announced he'll be back to visit Arizona the day after early voting begins.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, the number of coronavirus cases continues to climb. And we'll take a look at how the flu season could be impacted by the pandemic.
And is TikTok really getting banned? We'll tell you about a new partnership that could possibly save the app next.
The weather around Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News. Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon. Some of the best players for their program.
Stephanie Sy, news anchor. I think women have come a long, long way when women were still struggling to just get the right to vote. So it's important to recognize the sacrifices that women have made. Those rights should not be taken for granted. My message to young girls is to read. Read about the struggles that women have been through and the ways they've overcome them as you go forth in a society that is not yet fully equal.
This morning, Arizona health officials reported 233 new coronavirus cases and 2 additional deaths. They also announced COVID-19 hospitalizations are at their lowest since April, with 472 inpatients. Right now, the total number of cases in our state is over 214,000, with over 5,400 coronavirus-related deaths. As for the Navajo Nation, they reported 12 new cases and no additional deaths this morning.
For 3 months now, masks have been mandatory in buildings and businesses across Maricopa County to stop the spread of coronavirus. But that could be changing soon. Cronkite News reporter Sean Rice joins us now to explain what's going on. Sean?
In a closed executive session this morning, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors discussed the possibility of removing the county-wide mask mandate, as Sierra Vista, a city south of Tucson, will end their ban this week. According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, positive cases climbed to over 3,000 when the mandate was required. As you can see, the numbers steadily dropped to under 1,000 cases on August 28th and only 233 cases as of today, September 21st. Will Humble, the executive director for the Arizona Public Health Association, spoke to Cronkite News about the meeting and the mandate.
In fact, if you want to keep commerce happening, if you want to make sure that the bars, restaurants, nightclubs are able to continue to operate, and if you want kids to have in-person school, that masks are the best way to make that happen. So, and I'm convinced that the supervisors know that. I mean, they saw the effect of their decision back in late June when they put that intervention in play, and we saw several weeks later dramatic results from the face covering requirement. So I'm convinced that the supervisors all know that it's an effective intervention that worked within their jurisdiction.
Although the positive COVID-19 cases in Arizona remain low, 31 other states have had their case counts increased by at least 10% this past week. That's according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Right now, the nation's death toll stands at 199,400. The closed session meeting was scheduled so the board could seek legal advice about ending the mask mandate, but they say no vote is expected today. In the broadcast center, Sean Rice, Cronkite News.
The threat of flu season may be lowered this year because of the same measures we've been using to slow the spread of COVID-19, including wearing masks, social distancing, and hand washing. A new CDC study found a reduction in flu cases at the beginning of the pandemic, and researchers also noted the summer circulation of the flu is currently at a historic low. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't get a flu shot. An infectious disease expert with the Mayo Clinic is warning of the possibility of a twindemic if people don't take extra precautions and get vaccinated. That's the idea that we would have at least 2 viruses causing an epidemic and a pandemic at the same time.
TikTok users say they're used to false alarms, and they saw another one this weekend when the government backed off a threat to ban the popular China-based social media apps TikTok and WeChat. Cronkite News reporter Carolina Hassett has the latest from our Washington bureau.
The ban was supposed to take effect Sunday, but was delayed for a week when Oracle and Walmart announced a plan Saturday to take over TikTok, and a federal court blocked action against WeChat. The bans were proposed by the Trump administration, which says massive collection of user data by the Chinese-owned apps poses a national security threat. It's a threat Brett Scott takes seriously.
There is a human being in China that's dedicated to spying on you throughout your entire life.
Scott, who co-founded the National Cyber Warfare Foundation, believes TikTok is popular because it is easy and uncensored.
I think platforms like YouTube, which had a tremendous amount of promise and a lot of growth, have turned into a platform of information suppression more than a place of free expression.
Not so, says American University professor Jason Malika.
TikTok isn't any more dangerous than, say, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever social platform that you use.
Arizona State University student and TikTok user Lena Tahibish says she understands the security concerns, but she also appreciates that TikTok gives everyone the chance to have a platform.
A lot of people from like the Arab Muslim community started doing their own thing as well. So I really liked seeing that because I was like, okay, like this is nice. Like everyone's getting a platform.
President Donald Trump said late Saturday that he approved the TikTok partnership with Walmart and Oracle in principle. The threat to ban the app is still there, just pushed back to next Sunday.
If TikTok is banned, from the app stores, then anything that's updated in the apps after that time will not be able to be downloaded.
More restrictions could also hit TikTok in November, which doesn't make sense to Alan Butler of the Electronic Privacy Information Center.
It actually doesn't make any sense to say that, okay, downloads need to be banned as of Sunday, but somehow use of the app doesn't need to be banned until November.
In the WeChat lawsuit, plaintiffs argued that a ban would violate the First Amendment and that it would make it harder for Chinese users to contact the U.S., since WeChat is their primary way of communication.
There's not really any evidence that blocking new downloads of WeChat is going to have any impact on, certainly on the privacy of current WeChat users or the security of the platform or the security of the country.
Tahibish thinks most apps have issues, but TikTok is being singled out because of its Chinese ties.
I think TikTok is just being held more accountable because it's not like an American app. But I feel like there's security issues with all social media apps.
In Washington, Carolina Hassett, Cronkite News.
TikTok has been downloaded by an estimated 100 million users in the U.S., and those apps won't go away if the ban takes effect. But updates would no longer be available. You still have a week to download TikTok, with the latest ban threatened for midnight next Sunday. The night sky on Halloween will be illuminated by a blue moon, which is also the second full moon that month. According to NASA, the relatively rare occurrence happens once every 2.5 years on average. October's first full moon, also known as the harvest moon, will appear on the first day of the month. The second full moon, or the blue moon, will be visible on October 31st. And despite its name, the once-in-a-blue moon phenomenon does not necessarily mean the moon will look blue on Halloween. While the dark blue tone of an evening sky can affect the coloring we see, Earth's satellite will most likely not appear blue at all. NASA says when the phrase was coined, it meant something so rare you'd be lucky to see it in your lifetime.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.